pay attention to how you use your minutes, that's everything in life. Time is your most valuable resource. What are you doing with your minutes? Like we just experienced, they can be very long or they can vanish and we don't even know where they went to. So when I wanted to try to train some of my new advisors as I was working with them, I thought, how can I really help them achieve the success that I've seen so many of my friends and colleagues at MDRT achieve? This slide came from a good friend of mine. He passed away last year, unfortunately, Jim Horan. We've gotten to know each other thanks to MDRT over the last few years. And he shared this slide with me, allowed me to share it with some of my other advisors. When you think about what you started doing in your business, when you very first got started, your first few months in the business, you produced X revenue on the bottom left of this slide. And then eventually, as you worked harder, you had a different level of discipline. You were casual, you may sell anything to anyone at that time. Then you get more selective, and before you know it, your revenue is multiplying. You're producing 2 times, 5 times, 7 times, maybe 10 times revenue. What I have noticed over the years, talking to other top of the table members, other professionals that are in our industry around the world, their level of success is directly proportionate to their level of discipline. The more disciplined you are, the more attentive you are to how you use your minutes, the more success you'll have. And I think that's applicable in both business and personal life when you think of a whole person capacity. So how are you using your minutes? Reflect on that a little bit. But I'm not here to tell you how to use your minutes. You get to decide how to use your minutes, and there's no right or wrong. We each have our own lease on this life, so we have to decide how we're going to spend our minutes, how we're going to invest our minutes to get the best ROI that we can. So a few years ago, I thought, 22 years ago, I got started in the business in 1997. And when I first got started, there were 4 things that I was trained that I needed to focus on each week. Number of appointments I set, number of appointments I kept, number of referrals I got, and number of pieces of business that I wrote. And those 4 key metrics, as I reflected on trying to train some of my newer advisors of the last few years, I realized those are our KPIs. If you've ever heard the term key performance indicator in any kind of big business, KPIs are a big deal. That's how they measure the success of a business. They watch those KPIs over time. And so your key performance indicators, I think just about anybody in the sales profession of financial services and insurance would argue that the number of appointments you set each week, the number you keep each week, the number of pieces of business you write, and the number of referrals you get will be directly proportionate to your level of success. The biggest gap between your success and where you are right now is the biggest hurdle to that is in your mind. And if you can just expand your mind to say, what would I do if I could do anything? What would this look like in 5 years or 10 years if there were no constraints on what could be done? That'll give you a clearer vision of what you're shooting for. And then you can put yourself there and kind of work backwards by creating some goals along the way. But it's not about stressing yourself out. It's just about expanding your possibilities. So that's the first thing. The second thing, how do you get started? If you're busy with your business running you instead of you running your business, and you feel like you're just constantly running from this thing to that thing to this thing to that thing, when you think about the time that you spend with your top client, can you imagine that you have a 1-hour meeting with your best client, or a prospect, a 1-hour meeting with your best prospect, just like your best client, but it's like they're twin. You would love to have this person as a client. You'd love to serve them for another 20 or 30 years. Is there anything that could happen in your life that would interrupt that meeting? If you're in a meeting with that person for an hour, odds are, yeah, there's a few things that could happen, but they'd be really extreme things, right? Like family crisis type stuff. Generally, you're not going to let anything in the business disrupt that meeting. I would say that's sacred time. You need to create sacred time for yourself to reflect on your business. And it doesn't have to be very long. But we talk about doing reflection homework all the time. So I say schedule a cup of coffee with yourself. Put some headphones on or something that's going to block out everything else. Grab a yellow pad, grab a pen, and think about what you need to do for yourself so that you can reflect on your business and start working on your business. And don't let anything interrupt you as if you were in a meeting with one of your best clients. Because that small time, 15 minutes, 30 minutes, whatever it is, once a week, even every other week, like that will pay so many dividends for you in your business. So you've got to carve out the time and make a conscious choice to say, this is sacred and I'm going to use this time for this purpose. And you'll be amazed at how much time that gives you back.